Hello everyone. Welcome to Mind Podcast, Buddhism, the best channel for sharing knowledge about Buddhism. Today we will talk about the topic, Buddhism for beginners, plain and simple. In this episode, we will delve into the fundamental position of the Buddha as an enlightened being who has transcended birth and death. We will explore the core Buddhist teachings, including the truths of cause and effect, dependent origination, and the silent truth of emptiness or Buddha nature. We will also discuss the importance of learning Buddhism, progressing on the path of enlightenment, and applying these truths to daily life. Lastly, we will emphasize the significance of practicing Buddhism to achieve peace in the present and future, ultimately attaining liberation and autonomy. Stay tuned as we uncover these essential keys to a deeper appreciation of the value of Buddhism. Buddhism for beginners, plain and simple. Teaching sentient beings to practice and attain Buddhahood is the fundamental intention of all Buddhas. Due to the varying abilities and levels of sentient beings, not everyone can practice the same method and achieve the same results. Therefore, the Buddha had to teach different methods of practice. Generally, these can be divided into two types: practicing within samsara, the cycle of birth and death, and practicing to escape from samsara. Practicing within samsara. In the previous sections about the Buddha's teachings, the universal truths of cause and effect and dependent origination were discussed, with karma being the primary driving force behind these principles. Therefore, we speak of karmic results and karmic conditions. Good and bad karma act as causes leading to good and bad results. Karma propels and combines with conditions to generate and grow. When karma is fulfilled and conditions dissipate, the formed body disintegrates. Thus, karma is the driving force within the cycle of samsara. Given the importance of karma, we need to understand what it is. Karma refers to the actions created by sentient beings, stemming from their body, speech, and mind, collectively known as actions. The actions created by sentient beings influence them in return. For example, an artist imagines and paints a beautiful woman. After completing the painting, he admires the beauty of his creation and falls in love with it. Similarly, sentient beings create karma through their body, speech, and mind, and this karma pulls them to experience the results. They experience these results and create more karma, perpetuating the endless cycle. This repetitive cycle driven by karma is called samsara. Talking about karma affirms the power of self-governance. We create karma and experience its results. It is not created by any divine power or enforced by others. Only our actions, repeated over time, form habits that influence us. For instance, no one is addicted to smoking or drinking from birth. These habits develop over time through repeated practice, eventually becoming addictions that control one's life. Sometimes, people wish to quit these addictions but find it challenging to do so. This demonstrates the power of karma. Karma is divided into good and bad, but both keep one within the cycle of samsara. Those who know how to practice should cultivate good karma and abandon bad karma. This allows us to choose a better, more stable samsaric future. In worldly terms, some people seek refined, solitary pleasures like drinking tea, tending to bonsai, or writing poetry. Over time, these become habits, and without them, they feel uneasy, becoming attached to tea and poetry. Others enjoy playing music or chess with a few friends, forming a habit that without it, they also feel uneasy, becoming attached to music and chess. Some prefer the lively pleasures of frequenting restaurants, theaters, and gambling halls, developing habits that make them feel restless without these activities, becoming attached to drinking and gambling. All these habits are developed through practice, not by chance. Among these habits, some are refined and elegant, some are light and cheerful, and some lead to moral decline, all depending on what people choose to practice. We have full control over determining our present and future fates. Karma arises from our body, speech, and mind. In the body, there is killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. In speech, there is lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, and idle chatter. In the mind, there is delusion, greed, and anger. These seem to be innate bad habits within us. Our existence in this world carries these habits, causing suffering to sentient beings, hence called bad karma. Knowing how to stop these bad habits or transform them into good ones is called knowing how to practice. Practicing to stop karma. In the distant past, without understanding the principles, We indulged our bodies in killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct, causing suffering to sentient beings, which is bad karma of the body. Now, understanding the principles, we stop doing these acts, which is practicing to stop the body's karma. Previously, our speech involved lying, divisive talk, flattering, and harsh words to deceive, divide, seduce, and anger others, causing them suffering, which is bad karma of the speech. Now we stop saying these words, which is practicing to stop the speech's karma. In the past, our mind indulged in delusion, greed, and anger, leading us into wrong paths of suffering and harming others, which is bad karma of the mind. Now, recognizing our mistakes, we force ourselves to stop, which is practicing to stop the mind's karma. Stopping the 3 bad karmas is inherently cultivating the 3 good karmas, since we no longer cause suffering to sentient beings. When we do not create suffering karma for sentient beings, we are not pulled into experiencing bad karma. However, stopping bad karma is only a negative virtue. We need to advance further by cultivating positive virtues to transform karma. Practicing to transform karma. Transforming karma means changing bad karma into good karma. Instead of previously indulging in killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct, now we prefer saving lives, helping others, and maintaining chastity, thereby transforming the bad karma of the body into good karma. Previously, our speech was often deceitful, divisive, flattering, and harsh. Now it becomes truthful, harmonious, honest, and gentle, transforming the bad karma of speech into good karma. Previously, the mind was full of delusion, greed, and anger. Now it is transformed into wisdom, renunciation, and compassion, turning the bad karma of the mind into good karma. Practicing these 10 good karmas creates a foundation for building a joyful and beautiful life for everyone. If many people in the world practice transforming their karma, happiness will naturally come without being sought. Knowing how to transform karma brings peace in the present and joy in the future. Although still within the cycle of samsara, those who know how to stop and transform karma often find themselves in places of happiness and high standing. Conversely, those who indulge in creating bad karma often find themselves in places of suffering and hardship. Observing the world, we see joyful, prosperous places and suffering, poor places. Even within the same country, there are people who are happy and people who are suffering. These observations clearly show the effects of the karma and conditions created by sentient beings. To strengthen the effectiveness of stopping and transforming karma, the fundamental requirement is to take refuge in the 3 jewels and uphold the 5 precepts. Taking refuge in upholding the precepts. Taking refuge sets the direction for our entire life. Why do we practice stopping and transforming karma? Is it not to follow in the Buddha's footsteps, live according to his teachings, and rely on the guidance of the Sangha to elevate our lives? Throughout our lives, we aim towards this goal, without hesitation, courageously overcoming all obstacles until we reach our goal. This embodies the true spirit of taking refuge in the 3 jewels, which means returning and relying on the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The precepts are a barrier that prevents the 3 karmas from falling into the pit of wrongdoing. Upholding the 5 precepts is the first resting place on the path of stopping karma. Without this resting place, we lack the strength to climb the mountain of virtuous karma safely. The 5 precepts are also the first rung on the ladder of liberation. All safety and transcendence originate from the 5 precepts. Therefore, as Buddhists, we must value and uphold the 5 precepts as someone treasures a precious jewel while passing through a group of thugs. Because taking refuge and upholding the precepts are so important, anyone who wants to become a Buddhist must first vow to take refuge in the 3 jewels and uphold the 5 precepts. Once we are complete in these, we can progress to other practices. Practicing to escape samsara, liberation. We know that karma is the driving force in samsara, and the body, speech, and mind are where karma originates. As long as karma exists, samsara continues. When karma is eradicated, samsara ends. Among the 3 karmas, the karma of the mind is the most crucial because it directs the body and speech. To eradicate karma, we must first cleanse the karma of the mind. Failing to clean the mind's karma while only focusing on the body and speech is like dealing with symptoms rather than the root cause. In the past, Master Huairong of Nanyu often saw Zen Master Dao Yi Mazu meditating on a rock all day. Master Huairan asked, "Why do you meditate?" Dao Yi replied, "To become a Buddha." The next day, Master Huairan brought a brick and started polishing it beside Dao Yi's meditation rock. Dao Yi asked, "Why are you polishing the brick?" Master Huairan replied, "To make a mirror." Dao Yi said, "How can polishing a brick make a mirror?" Master Huairan replied, "How can sitting meditation make you a Buddha?" Dao Yi asked, "Then how should one practice?" Master Huairan responded, "If a cart does not move, should you whip the cart or the ox?" Dao Yi was silent. The cart is the passive element and the ox is the active one. To control the cart, we must focus on the active element. Concentrating on the passive element is futile. The body and speech are passive, the mind is active. Without disciplining the mind, forcing the body to sit upright or the mouth to chant constantly is pointless. True discipline involves monitoring the mind in all postures, walking, standing, sitting, and lying down. By continuously observing the mind, we can stop its karma. Once the mind's karma is still, the body and speech's karma will also become pure. Thus, Buddhist practices such as reciting sutras, chanting mantras, meditating on the Buddha, and sitting in meditation all aim to stop the mind's karma. Senior monks often say, reciting sutras without scattered thoughts brings great merit. Chanting mantras with an undistracted mind brings efficacy. Reciting the Buddha's name with one-pointedness leads to rebirth in the Pure Land. Meditating with a silent mind brings right concentration. These states of non-scattered thoughts, undistracted mind, one-pointedness, and silent mind are all about stopping the mind's karma. Although the methods of practice differ in coarseness and subtlety, they ultimately converge at the point of purifying the mind's karma. From a comprehensive view, all practices harmonize without any conflict. Judging from specific methods, we might see contradictions. Therefore, an enlightened person looks at the ultimate goal, while a limited person only sees the methods. Buddhism is like a house with many doors. Regardless of which door you enter through, once inside, you see the same things. Worrying about why someone enters through another door and not this one, or persuading them to switch doors is the mindset of a beginner in Buddhism. Choose any door that is convenient and strive to enter. You will benefit, is the advice of the enlightened. We only briefly explain the two methods of reciting the Buddha's name and Zen meditation, representing the practices of the Pure Land and Zen schools, for practitioners to follow towards liberation from samsara. The method of Buddha recitation. The method of Buddha recitation can be divided into contemplative Buddha recitation and recitative Buddha recitation. Contemplative Buddha recitation is based on the Contemplation Sutra, while recitative Buddha recitation is based on the Amitabha Sutra. Since recitative Buddha recitation is widely practiced by monks, nuns, and lay Buddhists, we will focus on explaining this method. Every practice taught by the Buddha has both a provisional and an ultimate aspect. The provisional aspect is like the gate, and the ultimate aspect is like the owner of the house. To meet the owner of the house, we must first enter through the gate. Without the gate, it is difficult to enter the house, let alone meet the owner. Thus, the gate is a prerequisite for meeting the owner. Without this condition, our desire is difficult to fulfill. For the method of recitative Buddha recitation to be successful, we must skillfully use its provisional aspect. What is the provisional aspect of recitative Buddha recitation? The provisional aspect of recitative Buddha recitation is using emotions to overcome emotions, or more specifically, using a thorn to remove a thorn. Thus, its provisional aspect is based on attraction and aversion, or dedication of merit. Since we ordinary beings are constantly captivated by worldly pleasures, our daily thoughts are always chasing after these pleasures. To stop these wandering thoughts is difficult. Seeing this, out of compassion, the Buddha preached the Amitabha Sutra, primarily describing the magnificent and beautiful Pure Land, contrasting it with the suffering and filthy world of Saha. This makes beings develop a liking for the Pure Land and a dislike for the Saha world. When attraction and aversion reach their peak, reciting the Buddha's name becomes easy and one-pointed. Without understanding attraction and aversion, reciting the Buddha's name only results in scattered thoughts. Therefore, attraction and aversion are the gates leading to the house of the Pure Land. What should we be attracted to? According to the Amitabha Sutra, the Buddha describes the Pure Land as, beings in this land have no suffering, only receiving happiness. Thus it is called the Pure Land. Moreover, in the Pure Land, there are fences, nets, and rows of trees made of the four jewels: silver, gold, lapis lazuli, and crystal. The ponds are filled with delicious water with 8 virtues, and on the banks are pavilions made of 7 jewels: silver, gold, lapis lazuli, crystal, mother of pearl, red pearls, and carnelian. In the ponds, there are lotus flowers with leaves as large as chariot wheels, emitting radiant light and fragrant scents. There is heavenly music, rain of flowers, and birds singing Dharma words. The Buddha of the Pure Land is named Amitabha, infinite light, infinite life, teaching the Dharma to beings there. The residents are all noble beings, such as hearers and bodhisattvas, who have attained non-retrogression, with some only needing one more life to attain Buddhahood. Therefore, all the people there are of the highest virtue. The Pure Land contains everything we desire: pure joy without suffering, magnificence, abundance of jewels, virtuous teachers and friends, long life, health, freedom and clothing and food and leisure. These images make us yearn for the Pure Land, which is attraction. What should we be averse to? In the latter part of the Amitabha Sutra, the Buddha says, "The Buddhas of the 10 directions praise me, saying, Shakyamuni Buddha can accomplish rare and difficult tasks, living in the evil and filthy world of Saha, filled with the 5 impurities, the impurity of the age, the impurity of views, the impurity of afflictions, the impurity of beings, and the impurity of life. Yet he has attained Buddhahood and teaches the Dharma that is hard to believe." This is the Buddha criticizing the Saha world for its filthiness and suffering, making us develop aversion and distance from it. When both sides are clearly displayed before us, one side is beautiful, magnificent, and joyful, while the other is filthy, ugly, and painful, we develop attraction to the Pure Land and aversion to the Saha world. This is the gate of attraction and aversion leading to the house of the Pure Land. Because of our attraction to the beautiful scenery of the Pure Land and aversion to the filthy Saha world, our minds gradually become indifferent to worldly pleasures. At that point, practicing recitative Buddha recitation becomes successful. However, to reach the peak of attraction and aversion, we must make daily vows of dedication. How to dedicate merit? Dedication means turning our love and attachment from the Saha world towards the Pure Land, developing aversion to the Saha world and affection for the Pure Land. For example, when we see filth and dirt on the streets, we think, the Saha world is truly filthy and disgusting. The Pure Land is adorned with pure jewels and cleanliness, which is highly desirable. I vow to be born in the Pure Land to escape this filth. This is turning filth into purity. When we encounter suffering and distress, we think, the Saha world is full of suffering and dissatisfaction. The Pure Land is completely joyful and fulfilling. I must be averse to this world and aspire to be born in the Pure Land to find true fulfillment. This is turning suffering towards the Pure Land. When we hear harsh and abusive language in the market or village, we think, in the Saha world we often hear harsh words. In the Pure Land, we always hear heavenly music and Dharma words. I am very averse to the Saha world and vow to be born in the Pure Land to hear the Dharma daily. This is turning afflictions towards enlightenment. When friends and brothers betray us, we think, in the Saha world, friends are unreliable and cause afflictions. In the Pure Land, everyone is virtuous and worthy of respect. I must aspire to be born there to have virtuous friends. This is turning bad friends towards good friends. When we struggle to make a living, not having enough food or clothes, we think, in the Saha world, we work hard and still lack necessities. In the Pure Land, we have everything we need without effort. I vow to be born in the Pure Land, to have ample food and clothing without hardship. This is turning poverty towards abundance. In summary, in every situation we encounter, we skillfully dedicate our experiences towards the Pure Land, making our aversion to the Saha world stronger and our desire for the Pure Land grow. This is skillfully using the gate of attraction and aversion to enter the house of the Pure Land. What is the ultimate aspect of recitative Buddha recitation? In the Amitabha Sutra, after describing the Pure Land, the Buddha says, "If any good man or woman hears of Amitabha Buddha and holds his name, whether for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, or 7 days, single-mindedly without confusion, at the time of death, Amitabha Buddha and the Holy Assembly will appear before them. When this person dies, their mind will not be disturbed, and they will be born in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land. To be born in the Pure Land, one must hold the name of Amitabha Buddha, single-mindedly without confusion, from 1 to 7 days. This is because the practitioner has developed strong aversion to the Saha world and deep admiration for the Pure Land, using the 6-character mantra, Namo Amitabha Buddha, as daily practice. Using these 6 characters as a chain to restrain the monkey-like consciousness, forcing it to stay still. Whether walking, standing, sitting, or lying down, working or resting, one recites the Buddha's name either silently or aloud depending on the situation. By persistently holding on to the Buddha's name, over time the consciousness will gradually become exhausted and eventually still. This is achieving single-mindedness in Buddha recitation. When the mind is single-pointed, the karma of the mind is purified, and the karma of the body and speech follows suit. This aligns with the phrase, the 3 karmas are always pure, like the Buddhas, reborn in the Western Pure Land. When the 3 karmas are purified, there is no force to pull us back into the cycle of samsara. However, we need to differentiate between single-mindedness and single thought. Reciting the Buddha's name with a single thought leads to rebirth in the Pure Land as a phenomenon. Reciting the Buddha's name to single-mindedness, seeing Amitabha in one's true nature and the Pure Land in one's mind, is the principle. By exclusively reciting the 6-character Amitabha mantra without allowing other thoughts to intrude, using one thought to eliminate all thoughts, we maintain a single thought of reciting the Buddha's name continuously without interruption. This is single thought. Using this thought to seek rebirth in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land ensures fulfillment, which is the phenomenal aspect of Buddha recitation. Using the 6-character Amitabha mantra as a miraculous medicine to cure all distracted thoughts. Once the illness is cured, the medicine is no longer needed. That is reciting the Buddha's name to the point of no thoughts, leaving only the single mind of true suchness, which is single-mindedness. Reciting the Buddha's name to the point of no thoughts reveals one's true nature as Amitabha, and the mind is the Pure Land, manifesting before one's eyes. Our true nature has always been enlightened, hence the term infinite light. Our true nature has never been born or died, existing beyond time, hence the term infinite life. Our mind has always been pure, but has been defiled by false thoughts, leading us through the 6 realms of samsara. When false thoughts are cleared, only the pure mind remains, which is the Pure Land, hence the saying, when the mind is pure, the land is pure. This is the principle of Buddha recitation, consistent with the spirit of Mahayana Buddhism and in harmony with other practices. Initially, a Buddha reciter must have complete faith in Shakyamuni Buddha's introduction, fully relying on the Pure Land of Amitabha Buddha, focusing the mind there to cultivate attraction and aversion. Without questioning the existence of the Pure Land, simply trusting that Shakyamuni Buddha did not deceive us, and following his teachings, we will surely gain great benefits. With sufficient faith, we diligently recite the Buddha's name day and night, without slackening, regardless of the time, until achieving single-mindedness. Simultaneously, in every encounter, we skillfully dedicate merit towards the Pure Land. A practitioner with full faith, belief, diligent recitation, practice, and frequent dedication vow fulfills the conditions for practicing recitative Buddha recitation. Meditation methods. Meditation practice aims to direct inwardly, clearing away delusional thoughts and calculations. Clearing away delusions involves both provisional and ultimate aspects. Provisional aspects of meditation. The provisional aspect of meditation is using wisdom to overcome emotions. This means looking directly at phenomena, observing and analyzing them to see their temporary and deceptive nature, which leads to detachment and freedom from emotional disturbances. Thus, practitioners work on cultivating a calm and stable mind. There are various types of meditation, including non-Buddhist and Buddhist meditation. Buddhist meditation can be broadly categorized into 2 types: remedial meditation and absolute meditation. Remedial meditation. Depending on the attachment and defilements of sentient beings, the Buddha taught remedial methods, like prescribing medicine for specific illnesses. If a practitioner has a severe condition, a knowledgeable teacher must understand it well to prescribe the appropriate remedial practice. The skillful use of provisional aspects in meditation is necessary for successful practice. The provisional aspect of remedial meditation involves looking directly at phenomena to see their impermanence and understanding that they arise from dependent origination. By using wisdom to observe that all things are impermanent and arise from conditions, and that nothing is lasting or has a true essence, attachment gradually subsides. After that, we apply remedial practices. There are many remedial meditation methods, and practitioners should use the one appropriate for their dominant issue. For instance, those with many delusions should practice counting breaths meditation. Those with strong lust should practice impurity meditation. Those prone to anger should practice loving kindness meditation. And those with ignorance should practice discrimination meditation. In all these remedial methods, practitioners focus on a particular subject for a long time until their minds become stable. Here we will briefly explain a common method: counting breaths meditation. Counting breaths meditation. If someone has many delusions, they should practice counting breaths meditation. This is the most common meditation practice among meditators because delusion is a common issue for all sentient beings. To control delusion, we must first regulate our breath, which is essential for our life. Regulating the breath is the first step towards health and mental stability, which is necessary for progressing in deeper meditation practices. Counting breaths meditation is the first practice in the 6 wonderful Dharma methods. These 6 methods are counting breaths, following the breath, stopping, observing, returning, and purifying. Practitioners must progress from the coarse to the subtle, fully practicing all 6 methods to achieve complete results. These methods are wonderfully effective in stopping all delusions, hence called the 6 wonderful Dharma methods. Here is a brief explanation of the 6 methods. 1. Counting breaths. After sitting upright in the correct meditation posture, practitioners use the method of counting breaths to stabilize the mind. Inhaling deeply and exhaling completely, count 1. Repeat until reaching 10, then start over at 1. If the mind becomes distracted and loses count, start again from 1. Focus closely on the number and breath, adjusting immediately if the mind wanders. When the mind can count without distraction for half an hour to an hour, it is temporarily stable. Then, move to the next method. 2. Following the breath. Stop counting and simply follow the breath. Be aware of each inhalation and exhalation, noting whether the breath is long or short, warm or cool. Follow the breath like a creditor tracking a debtor. When the mind remains focused on the breath without distraction, it is stable, and the next method can be applied. 3. Stopping. Stop following the breath and let the mind rest at the nostrils, observing the breath going in and out. The mind stays focused without distraction, constantly aware of the breath. When the mind is stable and undisturbed, proceed to the next method. 4. Observing. Instead of resting, start observing the breath. The breath comes in and goes out, indicating impermanence. The body relies on the breath to live, so it is also impermanent. The breath is fleeting, and the body is ephemeral. Observing this leads to the understanding that the body and breath are not truly existent. This dissolves the attachment to the body as real and enduring. Move to the next method. 5. Returning. Reflect on the mind that observes. Where is it, and what is its nature? Looking closely, we see it has no form or location. Constantly reflecting on the observing mind leads to a still and stable mind. Move to the final method. 6. Purifying. Let go of observing and simply remain with a clear and pure mind. No delusions, no drowsiness, only a serene and bright mind. Living constantly with this clear and bright mind is the ultimate goal of the 6 wonderful Dharma methods. At this point, the arising and ceasing of thoughts dissolve, and delusive karma created by the mind is purified, leaving nothing to pull the practitioner back into samsara. Skillful application of the 6 wonderful Dharma methods allows practitioners to escape the cycle of birth and death. However, during practice, many difficulties and strange experiences may arise, requiring guidance from experienced teachers to progress smoothly. Absolute meditation. This method of meditation was transmitted by Shakyamuni Buddha at Vulture Peak, where he held up a flower, and Mahakashyapa smiled in response, receiving the mind-sealed transmission. This lineage continued through the 28 Indian patriarchs, with Bodhidharma bringing it to China, where he transmitted it to Huike, eventually spreading to Vietnam, Korea, Japan, and continuing to the present day. When Bodhidharma arrived in China, he boldly declared this method as teaching outside of the scriptures, directly pointing to the human mind, seeing one's true nature, becoming a Buddha. Through this declaration, we see the absolute nature of this meditation. This meditation can be approached in two ways, from emptiness to form, or from form to emptiness. From emptiness to form. Initially understand that all phenomena are false and impermanent, and then realize the true mind, which is the absolute, unborn, and undying reality. Living with this realization is achieving the path. From form to emptiness. Initially recognize the true mind and then see all phenomena as false and temporary. Constantly living with one's true nature is seeing one's true nature and becoming a Buddha. Practitioners use the wisdom of prajnaparamita to see that phenomena arise from conditions. Their nature is emptiness, they have no true essence, and are only provisional combinations. Observing that these provisional forms have an empty nature, and that emptiness allows for provisional existence, we understand that birth and death are merely the combination and separation of conditions. Since birth and death have no true essence, nothing in the world is truly real. Constantly using wisdom to see this, we understand that all phenomena are like illusions and bubbles. Their true nature is emptiness. This is why the gate of Zen is called the gate of emptiness. Relying on the wisdom of prajnaparamita, we enter the house and see the owner achieving success. From seeing the provisional forms, we realize the truth, eliminating the ignorance of many lifetimes and living with perfect wisdom, achieving enlightenment and liberation. Mistaking provisional forms for reality and ignoring the true nature is ignorance. Provisional forms are born and die, but the true essence never does. Realizing and living with the true essence is liberation from samsara. This is directly pointing to the human mind, seeing one's true nature, becoming a Buddha. The true nature is the inherent reality within all beings, not created through practice. Realizing this inherent nature and constantly living with it is seeing one's true nature and becoming a Buddha, clearly manifested here. However, this teaching is considered a method without a method because it goes beyond duality and remedies. Therefore, it is said, the Dharma has no fixed method, Fapban vo Fap. It does not adhere to any form. So there is no specific entry, dwelling, or exit as in other meditation methods. Reading all the books on this meditation, we find no sequential practice methods. Thus, do not seek a method. Instead, use the sword of wisdom to clear the forest of attachments, and the treasure will be revealed. Searching for a method will only lead to disappointment. Let's recall the conversation between Huike and Bodhidharma. My mind is not at peace. Please pacify it for me. Bring me your mind, and I will pacify it for you. I cannot find my mind. I have already pacified it for you. Huike understood the essence. Reading this story, we may feel lost, as there seems to be no method of pacifying the mind. Bodhidharma's response appears both real and unreal, leaving us puzzled. Yet Huike grasped the essence immediately. This indeed is a rare and extraordinary matter. During meditation, disruptive thoughts arise, causing the mind to become unsettled. Seeking a method to calm the mind becomes essential. Hence, hearing about a knowledgeable meditation teacher, one packs up and sets off to seek the method of calming the mind. Learning one method or another to calm the mind ultimately amounts to using heat to drive away cold or using light to chase away darkness. All such dualistic methods are deceptive and unreal. Patriarch Bodhidharma did not teach this way. He simply said, "Bring your mind here, and I will calm it for you." When Huike looked directly at his restless mind, it disappeared without a trace. Huike had to admit, "I cannot find my mind." Bodhidharma then said, "I have calmed your mind for you." Huike immediately saw the way. For ages we have believed that the thinking, restless mind is real. Today, when we search for it and cannot find its trace, we realize it is empty. Knowing its emptiness means it no longer has the power to disturb us. When it arises, we do not follow it, and the mind is naturally calm. The reason our minds are unsettled is because when thoughts arise, we follow them, from one thought to another, without stopping. Now when thoughts arise, we know they are empty and do not follow them. They naturally disappear. This is truly the wonderful method of calming the mind. Without relying on any method or appearance, simply looking directly at delusive thoughts makes them vanish like clouds and smoke. This is direct pointing without relying on provisional methods. No one would foolishly chase after illusions, nor stubbornly try to eliminate them. Just knowing they are illusions and not following them is enough. This is the essence of Bodhidharma's method of calming the mind. A monk asked Zen master Zongmi, Huifeng, "What is cultivation?" The master replied, "Knowing illusion is cultivation." It is very simple yet comprehensive. Knowing illusions and not following them, the mind naturally becomes still. This is the wonderful method of this meditation. Although it is called cultivation, it is not really cultivation because there is no elimination or suppression. It is simply using wisdom to see through falseness, and the mind becomes naturally still, which we temporarily call cultivation. This method of non-cultivation starts with wisdom and culminates in living with the unified mind. Zen master Yunyan of the Song dynasty said, "Before I was 30, I saw mountains as mountains and rivers as rivers. After being taught by a wise friend, I saw that mountains were not mountains and rivers were not rivers. Now, having reached the ultimate realization, I see mountains as mountains and rivers as rivers." Before he turned 30, the master's perception was like that of any ordinary person, seeing mountains as real mountains, rivers as real rivers, and people as real people. After being taught by a wise friend, he realized that mountains and rivers were not real, but were illusory combinations of conditions, with an empty nature. He opened his wisdom eye and saw everything as illusions. Now, with all attachments and defilements completely eradicated, he sees mountains and rivers as rivers again, because he has transcended all attachments and distinctions. This truly is the ultimate achievement on the path of Zen. We will see this method more concretely through the dialogue between the supervisor Tri Vien and Zen master Yuan Guan. When household robbers are difficult to control, what should be done? Knowing they are not true enemies. After knowing this, what next? Banish them to the land of no birth. Isn't the land of no birth a place for the body and mind to rest? A dead land cannot harbor dragons. What is a living land that harbors dragons? Waves do not form despite the rising tide. When the pond tilts and the mountain collapses, what then? The master stepped off the meditation seat, grabbed the supervisor and said, "Don't let the corner of the kasaya get wet." Household robbers refer to delusive thoughts brought in by the 6 bandits, the senses. Knowing that these thoughts are false, they cannot harm us. Instead, we have subdued them. After recognizing them, they naturally subside, leading to the state of no birth. But this should not be seen as the ultimate state. One should not be submerged in it. It is necessary to awaken fully, remaining constantly aware and effective without being disturbed. This is truly the living land that harbors dragons. At this point, even if the sky falls and the earth crumbles, the mind of the practitioner remains unmoved, akin to not letting the corner of the kasaya get wet. The success of this method is not in gaining miraculous powers or magical transformations, but in remaining unaffected by the 8 winds: fame, disgrace, praise, blame, gain, loss, pleasure, and pain. Fame, not swayed by acquiring wealth. Disgrace, remaining indifferent during losses. Praise, not feeling agitated when humiliated. Blame, not feeling elated when praised. Gain, remaining calm when criticized. Loss, not changing demeanor when scorned. Pleasure, staying serene during suffering. Pain, staying undisturbed during joy. In every situation, the mind remains stable and unshaken, representing the ultimate success of the meditation practitioner. From form to emptiness, by recognizing one's true nature, one sees that all phenomena are illusory forms arising from conditions. The true nature is the real form without form, transcending both conditions and nature, remaining unchanged whether in enlightenment or delusion, beyond permanence or impermanence. This luminous, ever-present awareness is inherent in all beings. Recognizing it is called being a Buddha. Let's listen to the dialogue between Zen Master Dan and Patriarch Baizhang. "I wish to understand the Buddha. How should I proceed? You are like a man riding an ox in search of an ox. After understanding this, what then? Like a man riding an ox returning home. How should I maintain it? Like a shepherd guarding the ox, not letting it graze on others' crops. Dan understood the essence. We all possess Buddha nature but do not dare to recognize it, constantly seeking outside, like a man riding an ox looking for an ox. Recognizing one's true nature means no longer searching, like a man riding an ox returning home. But understanding is not the end. One must diligently guard and nurture it, like a shepherd with a rod guiding an ox. This is the essence of practice for those who have recognized their true nature. Later, Zen Master Dan taught, "Why do you all come to Dan seeking something? If you want to become Buddhas, you are already Buddhas. Why carry the Buddha to the neighbor's house to seek it, exhausting yourselves in vain? Like a thirsty deer chasing a mirage, when will it quench its thirst?" Everyone has a priceless gem, shining from the eyes, illuminating mountains, rivers, and vegetation, hearing from the ears, discerning all sounds, continuously shining day and night, known as the radiance of samadhi. We do not recognize this, instead identifying with the four elements body, which is a construct dependent on internal and external conditions. Without these conditions, it collapses, like a person carrying a heavy load over a flimsy bridge, fearing a misstep. Through Dan's teachings, we see that Buddha nature is inherently within us. Recognizing it does not require seeking outside. The more we seek, the more exhausted we become. Buddha nature is fully manifest in our six senses. We need only to look inward. Unfortunately, we constantly identify with the false body of the four elements. This body relies on internal and external conditions, without which it perishes immediately, like a precarious crossing of a flimsy bridge fraught with anxiety. Recognizing the unchanging true nature, all fears and anxieties vanish. What can harm this true nature? This is nirvana in the present world. A monk asked Zen Master Shigui, "What is the pearl in Shiddhagarbha's hand? Do you have it in your hand?" "I do not understand. Do not deceive the assembly," the master recited. Not knowing the treasure of one's own house, following others to chase external dust, running at midday to escape one's shadow, a man in the mirror loses his head. In summary, recognizing one's intrinsic Buddha nature is the key to overcoming delusion and realizing enlightenment. The journey is not about gaining anything new but realizing and living in accordance with one's true nature, transcending duality and false distinctions. Sentient beings continuously chase after external phenomena, forgetting their true nature. They seek the pearl in the hand of Bodhisattva Chittagarbha, forgetting that they already possess a pearl in their own hand. This pearl follows us like a shadow follows a form. Even though we tumble through the six realms and wander in the three worlds, the pearl is always present in our pocket. In our ignorance, we forget it, much like Yen Na, who saw his head and face reflected in a mirror. And when he covered the mirror, the reflection disappeared, causing him to panic and exclaim, "I have lost my head." He then ran around crazily, clutching his head and shouting, "I have lost my head." We are all like this. Daily, we chase after delusive thoughts, thinking that having them means having a self. When delusive thoughts cease, we panic and exclaim, "I have lost myself." Delusive thoughts arise and cease suddenly with no root or origin, yet we take them as our real self. When delusive thoughts cease, our faculties of seeing, hearing, understanding, and knowing remain intact, yet we say, "I have lost myself." Who is the one who knows they have lost themselves? Recognizing the master within prevents us from being deceived by external phenomena. Zen Master Fayan said, "I have something that is neither ordinary nor holy, neither wrong nor right. When the time comes, it responds naturally." Our true master is the absolute reality, beyond dualities of ordinary and holy, right and wrong. Even though there is no discriminatory thinking, when encountering situations, understanding is clear and immediate. This master has never been born nor died, hence it is called the indestructible Dharma body. Because it is unborn and undying, it is true and eternal, without any form, often likened to empty space. From the perspective of the Dharma body, mind, and all phenomena are seen as temporary and false, without even a hair's breadth of reality, thus described as like bubbles, shadows, dew, and lightning. Living with this master in all activities, walking, standing, sitting, lying, is practicing the meditation of no birth. Zen Master Shanyan sat alone on a rock, occasionally calling out, Master. Then answering, yes, he would say, be alert, don't let others deceive you. This self-call and self-response might seem like a playful act, but it is a way to remind oneself not to forget the Master. Do not be deceived by external phenomena, always staying alert and bright with your eternal Master. This truly is the timeless principle for those who know how to live in their true self. Knowing how to return to oneself is like returning home, reaching the treasure house, like the prodigal son being given his inheritance by his father, like nirvana, enlightenment, and liberation. All these different terms point to the same thing, returning to oneself. This is the meaning of the phrase, above the heavens and below the heavens, I alone am honored. Because returning to oneself means all external affairs are resolved. Does this meditation method have fixed practice times? This meditation method does not emphasize fixed practice times, only adapting to convenient circumstances, but focuses on mindfulness. In all times and activities, walking, standing, sitting, lying, working, resting, one must clearly see each thought and not follow it, or live constantly with the Master, not being carried away by external conditions. Any moment of forgetting mindfulness is considered a fault of negligence. Hence it is said, walking, standing, talking, keeping silent, chopping wood, gathering vegetables, stoking the fire, cooking, all are meditation. Those who practice this meditation may appear relaxed and leisurely, but in reality they are meticulously mindful of each thought. This meditation is the foundation for becoming a Buddha or patriarch. One day Prime Minister Wang visited the Zen monastery of Patriarch Linji. He saw the numerous monks and asked Linji, with so many monks, do you teach them to recite sutras and practice seated meditation? No. What do you teach them? I teach them to become Buddhas and patriarchs. This is a subtle and profound practice within the mind, not related to external forms. Patriarch Linji also said, fools laugh at me, the wise understand me. Ordinary fools cannot comprehend this method, but the wise can fully grasp it. This method has no levels or stages, only living with the true nature. True nature has no form, so practitioners find it hard to see their progress. Therefore, it requires a steadfast determination to hope for success one day. However, some people who superficially learn this meditation speak grandly but never actually practice self-discipline. They use the words of the Buddha and patriarchs to cover their own faults. Such people are thieves in the Dharma and commit serious offenses. Clarification. Reading about the absolute meditation above, many readers might question, Buddhism advocates non-self, but here it talks about returning to the Master within, which implies a self contradicting Buddhist teachings. In the Buddhist scriptures, the Buddha criticizes the eternalist views of non-Buddhists, but here it says, the Master is eternal and unchanging. Isn't this similar to the eternalist views criticized by the Buddha? Let's address these doubts one by one. Buddhism advocates non-self regarding the five aggregates. The Brahmins considered feeling, perception, formation, and consciousness as the self, but the Buddha pointed out that they are impermanent and thus not the self. The Buddha divided these into 5 categories and asked, if you consider feeling as the self, what about perception, formation, and consciousness? The same applies to the others. Taking the 5 aggregates as the self is a serious mistake. These 5 are conditioned, impermanent, and taking them as me leads to the cycle of birth and death. Therefore, those who consider the 5 aggregates as the self are in ignorance, and the Buddha opposed this view, teaching non-self. The Master mentioned in this meditation also pertains to the 5 aggregates but is the unborn, undying essence within them. This essence only fully reveals itself when feeling, perception, formation, and consciousness are still. It does not depart from these aggregates, but when they are active, it cannot be found. This Master is the tranquil, knowing essence that has never been disturbed or corrupted. We can verify this when sitting in meditation or alone in a quiet place. Feeling, perception, formation, and consciousness may be still, yet we remain aware, our senses active as usual. What is responsible for this awareness if not the ever-present, tranquil, knowing essence within? Therefore, talking about the Master here does not contradict the Buddhist principle of non-self. Only through true practice can we clearly see this. We should not get stuck in theoretical debates. The eternalist views of non-Buddhists also base their notions of eternity on the five aggregates. The five aggregates are impermanent, and considering the impermanent as eternal leads to the Buddha's criticism. The master mentioned here is the real essence that has never moved or changed beyond form and duality. Calling it eternal and unchanging is a provisional expression. The absolute reality cannot be adequately described with dualistic language. Recognizing this knowing essence helps us understand its eternity. Anything with form, subject to birth and death, is impermanent. The knowing essence transcends form and birth and death, so how can it be impermanent? Without this essence, what would achieve our hatship or Buddhahood when feeling, perception, formation, and consciousness are still? Hence, talking about the eternal master here does not contradict the Buddhist teaching on impermanence, and does not fall into the eternalist views of non-Buddhists. It is the essential teaching of Buddhism. Conclusion: the topics we have presented have been condensed into a very narrow scope, akin to covering an elephant with a basket, making it difficult to avoid misunderstandings and omissions. We hope that readers grasp the key points of each issue. For further details, they should refer to other Buddhist scriptures or seek guidance from monks, nuns, or knowledgeable friends. Reviewing the essential keys, we can summarize. 1. The Buddha. The Buddha is an enlightened being who has attained liberation from birth and death. This is his fundamental position. We should not alter, embellish, or force him away from this fundamental position. 2. Buddhist teachings. These are the teachings that point out the truths. The truth in phenomena is cause and effect. The truth in the formation and combination of things is dependent origination. The silent truth in the essence is emptiness or Buddha nature. 3. Learning Buddhism. Learning Buddhism means progressing on the path of enlightenment, understanding and judging the truths taught by the Buddha, and applying this understanding to human life. Successfully realizing these truths requires the clear-sighted wisdom of prajna. 4. Practicing Buddhism. Practicing Buddhism involves applying the understood truths to daily life, removing all the attachments and delusions that bind our minds, bringing peace in the present and perpetually in the future. Furthermore, practicing Buddhism means transcending the cycle of birth and death, freeing oneself from all limitations, and becoming a liberated and autonomous person. With these essential points firmly grasped, it is like holding a bright torch on the path home, ensuring that one does not get lost. The value of Buddhist teachings lies in knowing to practice, not just to speak. The deeper the practice, the higher the appreciation of the value of Buddhism. Knowing just to speak is like presenting a variety of foods while remaining hungry, or being a bank teller who counts money all day but leaves empty-handed. We hope that readers of this book do not end up in such a state. Thank you for listening. If you found this video helpful, please share it with those who might benefit from it. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button, follow, and turn on the notification bell. This is how you can show your support for me. Once again, thank you very much, and see you in the next videos.